Today, we're diving right into a seriously frustrating phenomenon. You know the one. Why highly analytical, super intelligent thinkers so often find themselves completely stuck at the starting line of a project. More importantly, though, we're going to walk through a structured tutorial to help you break that static friction once and for all. So think about a time recently when you sat down to tackle a simple task, something that, honestly, should maybe take 20 minutes, tops. And yet you found yourself just staring at the screen until your feet felt like they were literally made of concrete. Look, you've got the intelligence, you have the ideas, you might even have a meticulously crafted vision board hanging up. But when you actually sit there, this heavy feeling just takes over, while everyone else seems to be effortlessly sprinting past you. If you've spent years calling yourself lazy, I really want you to listen to this. Your brain isn't broken. It just refuses to move without a map of meaning. Seriously, you aren't lazy. You simply have a very specific psychological architecture, which is actually super common in highly analytical outsiders that strictly requires a why before it's willing to burn any cognitive energy. It demands that map of meaning before it takes a single step. To help map all this out, here's our agenda for today. We'll start off by debunking the myth of laziness, look at the potential trap, and then run through a 3-step tutorial to get you moving, naming it to tame it, lowering the bar, and embracing the shitty first draft. Let's get into it. Starting with Section 1, the myth of laziness and the science behind the stall. It all comes down to your brain's internal operating system, specifically your fundamental desire to be in control of your own choices. When someone tells you to do a task without explaining why, or even when you try to force yourself to do some meaningless checklist, you trigger what psychologists call psychological reactance. Basically, your identity has this sort of immune system that actively rejects a demand if it lacks personal value, just to protect your freedom of choice. It lacks the cognitive map to justify the effort, so it throws your brain into this quiet fight-back mode. You're not being stubborn, your brain is literally protecting itself. And there's a fascinating biological contrast at play here too. While some people's brains run quite happily on a dopamine parade of quick wins, checking little boxes, and social buzz, deep thinkers operate differently. You operate on an acetylcholine system. This system rewards introspection and long-term meaning way more than short-term stimulation. So without a clear why, your acetylcholine-driven brain simply doesn't see a valid reason to spend its very limited cognitive energy. Makes sense, right? Moving to Section 2, the potential trap, or the illusion of progress. Let's meet Sam. Sam has a notebook full of absolutely brilliant business ideas. But every single Monday morning, instead of actually starting the work, he spends 3 hours meticulously color-coding his calendar and researching the latest productivity software. We have all been a Sam at some point. This is productive procrastination. By the time Sam is finally finished preparing, he's completely exhausted his willpower. He feels like he's done a ton of work, but the actual page, completely blank. Now, the true underlying fear keeping Sam and you stuck is this. Deep down, you'd much rather be a hidden genius than a visible beginner. Inside your head, right there in the potential trap, your ideas are flawless. They're perfect, and they're completely safe. But the absolute second you start, that idea enters the messy, real world, where frankly, it could actually fail. But we have to remember, action is the only thing that creates confidence, not the other way around. So how exactly do we shift from overthinking to doing? Well, let's dive into our 3-step actionable tutorial to overcome this static friction once and for all. Step 1, Section 3, name it to tame it, creating cognitive diffusion. The next time you sit down to work and you feel that familiar, anxious tightness in your chest, I want you to stop and use these exact scripts. Literally say it out loud, just like this. I notice I'm in the potential trap right now, or I'm experiencing static friction. By actually vocalizing this, you create what therapists call cognitive diffusion. It inserts this crucial tiny gap between your core identity and your anxiety, which allows you to observe your hesitation rather than being completely controlled by it. Which brings us to Section 4, our second step, lower the bar and design a mastery experience. To bypass the brain's reactance we talked about earlier, you have to lower your expectations for tasks until they feel absolutely ridiculous. Can't bring yourself to write for an hour? Fine. Write for exactly 1 minute. Can't clean the whole house? Go to the kitchen and wash exactly 1 spoon. You aren't trying to finish the massive project yet, you're just trying to bypass the friction and create a tiny, tiny spark of momentum. And this tiny, ridiculous micro-win serves a massive biological purpose. It acts as a mastery experience. Think of it like wiggling a loose wire and suddenly seeing a lamp turn on. It immediately rewires your brain to believe that the world around you is actually something you can reach right into and change. That one small action proves to your acetylcholine system that your effort yields a tangible result. It's huge.
Finally, Section 5, our third step, the shitty first draft defeating perfectionism.
Perfectionism is really just fear wearing a suit. Man, that cuts right to the truth of the matter, doesn't it? Your value as a human being is not tied to the flawlessness of your first attempt. Listen, it is perfectly fine to be a total disaster while you're learning to be an expert. Your true value comes from your willingness to simply show up as a human being who is trying. So drop the suit, drop the fear, and just let that first draft be messy. So, we've debunked the laziness myth, we've identified that sneaky potential trap, and we've given you the actual tools to break the friction. But it all comes back to one fundamental question. What's the why behind the project you've been putting off? Remember, you aren't lazy, you're just waiting for the work to mean something. Define your why, lower the bar to a single spoon, and just start. But I want to leave you with this to chew on. If your highly intelligent brain just needs a map of meaning to take the first step, what invisible map are you currently drawing for yourself? And where is it actually taking you?